Hello.
Are you ready? Are you ready for this episode?
I think so, Suze. I'm a little tired and a little jet lagged. Can I say that? Coming from Bali to Dubai, I think so.
You are. So,
Yeah.
update all of our listeners. You have come from Bali, straight from
I
Bali. Tell us
had
about Bali. What did you do?
Bali straight onto this podcast. So I flew in. I got in at 3:30 this morning. I made the silly decision to fly from Bali via Kuala Lumpur into Dubai without realizing I had to change airlines and change airports in Kuala Lumpur. So my 8-hour flight took me nearly 24 hours from when I left the house. So it was a long journey, but I'm here and I'm back in Dubai.
How was Bali? Tell us. What did you learn about yourself? What did you learn about Bali? Did you work? Tell us all about it.
I did do some work, Suze, but probably not as much as I would normally do. But Bali was magical and amazing. I think for a couple of reasons. Bali for me used to be the place Australians all go when they're like 19, 20, and they all go and get drunk and party. Whereas this time round, it was like a completely different experience for me. I didn't drink, so I did 6 weeks without drinking alcohol, which is
You look
huge.
amazing. Look at your
Hope
skin.
my skin's changed.
Or
I
have
hope
you
so.
done the filter
No,
on
that's just me now. No.
real?
Just kidding. And it was magical, Suze. What I did is I looked at Bali, and everyone says this, and it sounds very cliche or very eat, pray, love, right? Because she obviously went to Bali to do something similar. But it was a chance for me to think, regain my life back a little bit and slow down and just stop, which there's no better place in the world than Bali for that. I think Indonesia itself is just magical. And the island of Bali, there's something about the people, just the air, everything just seems to be so calm. And I mean, the local people are just probably the most friendly people you can ever imagine. And there's just this sense of peacefulness when you walk around in Bali. I mean, it's chaos because there's scooters and there's chickens going off and there's just chaos, but there's calmness within the chaos, which sounds crazy saying that out loud, but it's just really magical place, really. So I was there for 2 months, spent most of my time in Canggu, but I also went out to Ubud. My mum came and spent a week with me, which was really special. So we went out to Ubud and did lots of sound healing and yoga and meditation. And then I also went down to Uluwatu, which was beautiful. So Uluwatu is just all about the beaches and the cliffs. That was for just a weekend. One of my best friends also came over from Australia. He was going through a breakup. So as my mum left, he came. And it just felt for the first time I was able to catch up with friends and family in a really nice place and just relax and enjoy being a little slower pace than I normally am. So yeah, it was magical, really. And because Bali is 7 hours behind the UK, it meant I would wake up, I would go to the gym, and the gym that I went to was more of a wellness center as well as a gym. So they had a steam room, a sauna, a recovery area, a swimming pool, and then lots of activities in terms of exercise activities. So I'd spend most of my morning there. And then they also have like a really nice healthy restaurant where you could eat really healthy food, portion sized protein, vegetables, juices. And then I would
Wow.
start work at around 2 or 3 was when I would start work. And then I would break for sunset to eat some food, watch the sunset on the beach, and then work into the evening. And that was basically my routine for 2 months.
Oh, shut up. You're making me so jealous. So
Oh,
jealous. There's so much to unpack there. I mean,
yeah.
like, the first thing I would say is tell me, as a musician, I probably need to know this. What is sound healing?
So what it basically is there is a beautiful place in Ubud called the Pyramids of Chi, and they've created these like pyramid domes that are just basically tranquil places where you lie on the ground and shamans play instruments. So you're basically healing the nerve system through sound. So
Mhm.
what they would do is they would have a range of different instruments from guitars to percussion to pianos to triangles, all sorts of, more instruments than I know, Sue. So I wouldn't even be able to guess half of the instruments that you're hearing, but you're lying there in complete stillness and meditation state and basically just drifting off into a deep meditation to
What?
look. I've done quite a lot of this, but the first time, no, because my mind was racing and they call it the monkey brain. So you've got to like let the monkey brain just kind of control. As I started to relax, and when I did it at the beginning of the trip, not so much, but towards the end, because I was a lot more relaxed and I think centered, I was able to get the benefits of it and actually relaxing and being able to shut the monkey brain down a little bit.
Love
And
that.
for me, it was the one of the sessions I did felt like it was the most that you're not supposed to fall asleep, by the way, but I did. But
Mhm.
felt like the most I've probably slept in 6 months because I just fell into a really deep sleep. And I woke up from it feeling rested. You know, when you wake up from a good sleep, which I very rarely have, and your whole body is feeling like it's actually shut down and
Oh my
rested.
gosh, I haven't had that for ages, for years. But do
Yeah.
you know what's really, really interesting about that? And I think a lot of these things, because I'm a bit cynical about like, although I do it, I'm a bit
Yeah.
cynical about meditation, yoga, sound healing, and all these other
Why
things
are you cynical?
like crystal healing. Because I think not cynical in a negative way, in a kind of
Mm.
like, is there much data to prove that it actually works? Is there much science behind it? But what I do believe is that as human beings, and I'm learning this more and more because I'm going through therapy at the moment, and what I'm learning is that when we don't ever stop and do something for ourselves, that's genuinely
So true.
collective. And I think all those things, there's what's that other one now? It's float therapy,
Oh
float
yeah, I did that as
bath.
well. That's
Oh my
amazing. Put that into
gosh, what's
prices.
it like?
We can do that when you come out. They have it at the one and only Mirage. They do a sound healing crystal bowl session on these floats over the water. And it's so beautiful because it's really relaxing. And because there's the frequencies of the sound, kind of, I don't know the scientific description of it, but it kind of relaxes your nerve system. So you drift off into a state of relaxation and you're kind of floating and you wake up and you're like, where am I? Because you're in such a deep relaxation state. But we should do that. And I think what you just said is true, especially because you've got kids, right? You're constantly running around and doing 100 things. Something like an hour of lying there with a gong going off or crystal balls is so helpful just to bring you back to a state of relaxation and calmness, really
Yeah.
more than anything, to help you do better at your day-to-day job, which is what I found.
I guess a cynical part of me is the money, right? And this
Yeah,
obviously sounds
I get
negative,
it.
but like, give me £50, I'll put you in a bath and you sit there for an hour.
Yeah.
But one thing I will say, and this is one thing that I've learned recently, having my kids, and I used to try and entertain them all the time. It was like, right, we're going soft play. What are we doing next? Right, mummy's got another activity. Woohoo. And
Yeah.
it was gonna be like constantly everything. But I've learned that as I do less with them, and I've had to work, I've been 100% single mum for 4 months. So as I've done less with them and just let them play, they have become much more creative. And I think there's a lot to be
Interesting.
said about just it's almost worth paying someone to make you do nothing or make you be away from your phone or whatever, or
Yeah.
away from tech, because the things, I mean, LinkedIn, right? My LinkedIn engagement has gone up. It's not amazing, but it's better. And the
What have
reason
you changed, Suze?
it's actually just being a bit lazier, right? So now when I'm at the gym or when I'm like walking to work, I don't plan anything. I just let my thoughts go with me. And then I think of something, oh my gosh, that's really interesting. I'm going to post about that. And I just
Yeah.
do it. I don't do anything. I just think I'm going to post about that. Or a client will say something to me. So it's almost sometimes when the brain is not consciously trying to do something and an
Yeah.
idea comes to you, but we can only do that if we allow space for it.
Your
Uh,
creativity space, isn't it? And you're actually putting out there what people, I think, want to see and hear because people want to hear who is Susanna Gray authentically. What do you do versus posting things for the sake of posting things that everyone's doing? It's all about your personal brand. And I think you've done a really good job at just putting yourself out there more recently. And that's probably what people actually want to see and hear, really, isn't it?
It's being cringe and being vulnerable
Yeah,
sometimes.
it is sometimes. I feel
Like,
you.
if you look at the people who do really well, they're way more vulnerable than I could ever be. And I'm pretty open as a person. So, I mean, let's talk about the latest LinkedIn post, right? So, this is crazy. This is like my biggest engagement post of all time. I think I've had even people reaching out to me saying, Susanna, are you okay? Some of those comments were quite harsh.
It's really.
So,
How
yeah,
many impressions did you get, Suze, on that post?
I got over 300,000 impressions.
Wow.
So
Wow.
it could be more now. I don't look at it. I don't check it daily. But I basically put something out there for people who haven't seen it about someone basically saying to their manager that they are going to work from home because they've got an appointment and it makes sense that they should work from home that afternoon, right? Didn't give much context to the post, but the point of the post was that people don't ask for permission anymore. They often just tell their managers that is what they are going to do. And I don't think that's right. I don't. I think there's a lack of respect sometimes towards your employer who essentially pays for you to work. But a lot of people got really upset and said, well, why should you respect them? You shouldn't work in an autocratic environment. Why should your boss say, no, you have to ask for permission first if you're not feeling great? So what do you think? I want to know. What do you think? I know you commented, but I want to know what you actually think.
It's interesting, Suze. I think that post was very well articulated, by the way, because what I think you did,
ChatGPT helps.
yeah, well, whatever you used, it worked. Because what you did is you treaded on a fine line of putting out your statement, but it was also left for ambiguity. And there was an open discussion around how you positioned it, which I think sparks people then to reply. So that was smart, by the way. So I could definitely learn something from that post. So what do I think? I think differently to you on this one completely. And I'll tell you why. The way the post message was written, it was, I have an appointment. I'm going to work from home today from 2:30, right? So in my mind, if I, as a manager, trust my employees, and this is assuming that this is a good employee who does the right thing, who isn't consistently doing this, right? And that's why there's obviously open for discussion around the nuances. I don't think there should be an issue with that, because what we are trying to create, and especially with the new generation coming up, is people want flexibility, they want trust, they want autonomy, and then they often deliver their best work. I think when you create an environment where it's a telltale ask, I don't think it's very encouraging or motivational for people. I just don't think people respond. People will stay and they'll assume and pretend that they're enjoying it, but they're not happy there. I think if you create an environment where I wake up in the morning and I have to be somewhere and I can message my manager as a one-off, emphasizing that this is a one-off. Not sure if your situation was. I think your employee should allow that, and they shouldn't be an issue if it's not a consistent request. And if you are a good person that goes above and beyond, period. I don't think that there's an issue unless you're impacting the workforce. So sudden changes can be disruptive to employees. So I think if it's a sudden change that's going to have a negative ripple effect on your day to day and put somebody else out, that's an issue. I don't think putting people out is great. I don't think impacting your colleagues is great. And I don't think doing things repetitively is a good habit. So assuming this is a one-off, assuming that this person has an appointment that doesn't do this often and they are probably going to stay back and work after work, and all these assumptions that I'm making, I don't think there's an issue with it, because I think you want your employees to be able to vocalize where they're at mentally when they wake up.
And I agree to that to a certain extent. But what I do feel is that if it was the other way around, so say, for
Mm-hmm.
example, let's say I was your manager and
Mm-hmm.
it was your own time. And I said, look, we've got this urgent PSL meeting tomorrow, Tiarna. I know that you don't work after 4 o'clock, but I'll need you in at 4, blah, 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 instead of asking you. To me, it was so small what that employee didn't do. They didn't say, even just if it's okay with you, I would like to work from home. I feel like it has to be a two-way respect thing, in the same way that an employer wouldn't say to their worker, you need to come in at this time if it's their own time. If you're employed to work on that time, then you just ask. It's basic decency. You're on my payroll. Like, I'm
And
paying
I
you.
agree with the asking element. I don't think the issue is that they've decided to take an appointment and work from home. I think the issue perhaps is from your side, it sounds like them not asking the question and asking for
Exactly.
permission. Is
Exactly.
that what?
Ambiguity worked in my favor,
Yeah.
because I
Okay.
think a lot of people were like, why can't she have an appointment? And they didn't sort of quite see the point of the post, which I hate to say, from a familiarity point of view, that worked for a little bit in my favor. But like, I do
What I'm
think
saying, that's why I think you really well articulated it, because it left it open for a lot of assumptions like I've just made and a lot of different angles, which is why I think it's a really juicy post
people got
ultimately.
really angry. I loved it. It's so funny that people kept saying to me, Susanna, like, are you upset? And I was like, no, why would I be upset? Like, I love people's opinion, even if it is different to mine, because the only way I believe as human beings that we learn to be better people is by essentially having people challenge us.
So
And
do
I want to
you
be
think,
challenged.
Suze, if the text message was more of a, hi, would you mind if I worked from home today because I have an urgent appointment, would that have changed the sentiment completely?
100%.
Yeah, interesting. Okay, interesting.
100%. So that was kind of my main point, because I
Yeah,
know that when I managed an office in London, that it used to really annoy the team when people would take time off because people would be covering. And it would annoy me when people
get it. I totally
did
get that.
ask or try and show consideration. Obviously, if you're ill, you've got to be off, but it just how the request comes, I would always ask if I knew that it's a respect thing. It's
I
not a
get that.
what a
And I
cover.
think I would also ask just because it's courtesy. And I think I understand the point, but I don't think there's an issue with the flexibility part in terms of having a day to work from home because there's an appointment. I think that's something that managers do have a problem with. And I think a lot of the comments on your posts were people saying that you shouldn't be taking appointments through work hours. And I mean, I haven't even read a lot of them. I don't know what the sentiment was. What was the main theme on most of the messages that people were angry about from your perspective?
The main thing that they were angry about was their interpretation. I mean, a lot of people agreed with it, right? Let's not, a lot of people were like, Alleluia, this is like so true. I can't believe I just said Alleluia on a podcast. It's so embarrassing. But basically, the main gripe that people had was that it was an autocratic manager, right? The text message was not real. It was one I just created. I sent it to myself. I thought it would be a good talking point, which it was. But that made people quite angry, because they were like, who is this autocratic manager? Why do they think they're above that person if they're not very well? And there's a lot of talk about this at the moment. There's a lot of people saying that managers should not be micro. They should not say, you need to be here at this time. This old school, you must dress up in a suit. You must
Mm.
work on time. Well, so what if I'm 5 minutes late? And I hate to say this, Tiana, and you know what I'm like as a person. I am a bit of a control freak. I don't like it. I don't like this whole, oh, you can come in 5 minutes late. If you're due to work at 9 o'clock, you come in at 9 o'clock. If you're due to have 1 hour lunch, you don't go over that 1 hour lunch by 5 minutes, because if you don't have discipline, you don't have standards,
That's interesting.
what do you have?
We have used for grace period at booking.com when I worked there. And what it was is you could come in 15 minutes early or 15 minutes late, and then you could leave either side of that. So it allowed for like late trains or when people
Like
were
that.
just running late. And there was always controversy around this because as Dutch people are quite military with their time and punctuality is really important. They didn't like it because exactly to your point, it was if you start at 9, you must be there at 9. And look, I think things happen, but I think it's for me, it's always about patterns and consistency. I hate being late more than anything. Sometimes it happens and I panic and it makes me feel sick because I hate putting people out because I think it's generally disrespectful and rude to someone's time if you're late.
Yeah.
Which is why I feel sick in my stomach when I'm late, and I'm quite chaotic sometimes and I know things happen and it's not great, but it's not a good habit to install. And I think people that are younger these days working, if they're allowed to be late, what type of structure and what type of, like you said, discipline does that create for your.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of my clients that I'm speaking to at the moment, they're having lots of issues with managing younger people in today's generation. And look, I think there's a twofold on that. I think the reality is the younger generation have a lot to offer that the older don't, and vice versa. And I think there is an adapting period that older managers need to take to be able to manage younger people. And I think there's a lot of resistance there.
Yes.
For example, hybrid working. We all know hybrid working is hot topic and it's a priority for people that are under 35 because they've had COVID, they've experienced it, but a lot of managers are really toes in the sand about how they feel on a hybrid working and they're not prepared to change. I think a couple of my clients recently have just rolled out a 9-day working fortnight and they said it's been fantastic for morale, for engagement, for mental health, for stress levels, and actually activity hasn't been impacted by it. So I'm like, look, I'm embracing organizations and I want to work for these type of organizations because they're trying new methods versus just saying, hey, I'm 55 and this is how it's been run my whole life. I'm not going to change because
Yes.
society in the world is changing. So you can't install your same thought process and pattern when we are living in a very different world today than what we were living in 50 years ago. Not that I'm 50, but you know what I mean.
100%. No, you articulated that so well. I think one thing I always remember was one of the best managers I ever had. She would be, we'll try it. Okay. We'll try it. If it doesn't work,
I
then
love that.
your way. And I think it is just showing sometimes that you'll try. But one thing I will say, Tiana, and I'm so sorry, I'm about to go on a rant because I do believe that, right, there's this new generation that do not have any standards, right?
Mm,
The fact that we are alive, 1 in a trillion, is very rare. It's such a rare chance to even be born in the first place. So when you are born, hold yourself to high standards. I went on holiday, right, to a seaside resort in the UK, and there were people walking around with their trunks half up. I could see their bum crack. It was like, have some respect for yourself. And then there
yeah,
was another person, and I looked around, and she was just like, it's grease coming out of her hair. It was just disgusting. And I just think people should have respect for themselves and should hold
yeah,
themselves account. And that means sometimes you have to turn up to work on time. You
yeah,
have to go to the
all
gym
the time.
and do that workout. You have to make sure that you do your sales calls, even if you don't want to. And people moan about it. I don't want to do my sales calls. I don't want to work out. I don't want to be there on time. It's tough. Sorry,
Yeah.
this new generation just needs to swallow it up, not do it for anyone else. It's not a power thing. Do it for you. I get so angry about this.
Yeah,
Wear a suit, wear a tie to an interview, make a good impression. Oh, sorry. This
I do agree with you
it
because
winds
it's,
me up.
I saw it in London quite a lot when I go in and see clients in their office. There's a lot of people. There was one office particularly, I'm not going to mention who they were. And I remember walking into the office. They were quite a young technology recruitment agency. So there was probably about 60 people on the sales floor. And I would say half of them were wearing just a jumper, a sweater, and like scruffy jeans and trainers. And I remember thinking, and they're kind of hunched back on their chair, not looking at all like they're enjoying to be there, just looking demotivated, like the way that they were sitting, but not to mention the way they were sitting, but the way they would dress. I mean, if I walk out of the house in my sweatpants and a trainers and a jumper, like I'm going to the gym. I'm not going to show up and be the best version of myself at work and be like, I'm coming into work today to make money and I'm going to do 15 sales calls. Like you don't feel like that because you're not dressing like that.
Yes.
So I agree with you on that because your appearance is so important. And your impression is based on your appearance. So if you're looking sluggish and scrappy, it transpires into your actions, and then it transpires into who you hang around. And I think it's just a really bad habit to get into, is to show up not looking great, right? But there's a time and place for everything. I'll tell you what was interesting, to your point of all the people you saw on the beach when you were away. The people I met in Bali, where there's people from all different walks of life in Bali. You've got people that are on a healing journey, you've got entrepreneurs, digital nomads, you've got crypto traders, you've got everything in this little melting pot. And what opened my mind was, I think we have this preconceived way of living in society. We have it in Australia, we have it in the UK, we have it everywhere. It's like you must kind of work your 9 to 5 job, you must go into the office, you must buy the house, you must do this and that. And what I took away from Bali was, you've got a range of people that are breaking societal norms. They're doing some of the most crazy jobs. They're launching businesses. They're running fitness retreats. One person I met has launched an app that basically was reaching out to refugees in different countries to connect people, just really random things. And these are people that are doing things that I think society doesn't really encourage, because they're not staying in their hometown doing the 9 to 5, working in part of the system. They're breaking free and doing things that they generally are passionate about, that they care about, or that give them the freedom to work abroad or to have a work-life balance, which I know is a very touchy topic at the moment. And it made me really think about life a little, in the sense that I think if I'm not working 9 till 7, 5 days a week, I haven't done well that week and I haven't achieved a lot. Whereas these people are working really rigid hours. So some of them would work into the evening, some of them would work early hours in the morning. They would break their day up and go to gym on their lunch break. They were just shaking things around and doing all sorts of different ways of working. And at their core, they felt to me like they were really happy, centered, and grounded, because they were doing what they love, but not the conventional way.
Yeah.
So I don't know what your thoughts are on that, Suze, but it got me thinking about conventionally what we're told to do and whether that is the right way to live, and if that is just conforming, or is that structure? What's your thoughts?
It's interesting, isn't it? Because I think it should start with structure. So, like, I always remember at school, the best teachers I had were the strictest ones. You come in and you almost kind of create that structure, but then you can be deviated away from it. So you can be free around it. So it's like, as long as you've got the structure, that's fine. Keep that structure, but then do what you want around it. I don't know if that answers your question well enough, but I think it has to start with some structure. Like, even those people who are creating, the app and doing these quite sort of free things that aren't sort of what society expects, they still have to show up with discipline. There's some still core things that they have to do. They still have to do a full working day, or that. So, and it's like you and me being solopreneurs, right? We know that sometimes we do have to crack whip to kind of get there. So I think as long as it's built around the basics, then you don't want to be too autocratic. You don't want to be too disciplined, but you need to start somewhere and know that's how you have to basically have that basics. What I mean by this is that there's a lot of people who are like in their 20s now, who they don't have a job because they haven't found their calling. They haven't found their passion. We all have to start in a job that we don't love. We all have to learn basic things like customer service. I worked in a hotel cleaning toilets, right? And I didn't mind, because I felt like I was adding, it sounds really weird, but I felt like I was doing something, I was earning money for myself. That felt good. And that kind of feeling that I built from that to do something that I really loved doing, which is recruitment. But like, I do believe that we have to learn to be uncomfortable. And in order to do that, there needs to be
true. Yeah, I think there's like a sense of entitlement, I think, that comes across now from a much younger age, because I think we are so plugged into TikTok, Instagram, and everyone looks like they're doing all these wonderful, cool things to people. So kids or adolescents growing up have this assumption that they can be a YouTuber and that's going to be their dream. I mean, if I ask my 16-year-old niece what she wants to be a YouTuber. And it's like so hard for me to get my head around that. But I look at YouTubers and they're making a lot of money and they're living these cool lives. But how many kids are actually going to become YouTubers? You know what I mean? Like, is that a really sustainable career pathway for her to become a YouTuber? And what she's going to do to get there in terms of learning discipline, having really crappy jobs, probably not many. She's just going to be posting videos of herself trying to get onto YouTube. Yeah. So I find it really fascinating. I find it really interesting. It's an interesting time. And I think a tough time for organizations right now with integrating the next generation into workplaces, because there is that kind of saying or sense where if you look at our parents and our parents, they were really working class. They really worked really hard. And you tend to see the way of working is changing now with AI. So what my parents see as working hard, nowadays is very different to what they had to do. Like they were out physically working and building and doing things that you needed to build a country. Whereas now we've got all these tools to do everything for us. So it's a different way of working hard now, which other generations, I think, struggle to see. It's a different thinking pattern in your brain anyways, because you've still got to be really smart to implement AI and to keep up with all the changes, but it's different to what our parents would have faced, which would have been probably much longer hours, grafting 6, 7 days a week to get ahead, because that's no longer the norm. It's a different mentality.
No, it's so true. It's so true.
100%.
But I mean, there's so many things that I wanted to talk about today, but we are gradually coming to the end of this episode. But one thing I did want to say to you, which I think there'll be a lot of people out there, how is life as a solopreneur? You're still in your first year. You're disciplining yourself. You're also single. I don't know. Are you dating? Tell me all about how is single on solopreneur life for
How
Tiarna?
much time do we have left, Suze? This could take a whole episode.
Keep it to 2 sentences.
How is single? So I'm loving solo single entrepreneur life. It comes with its challenges and it's going to keep coming with its challenges. Dating's a shambles out there, Suze. I don't know how you're finding it. I want to talk to you about that. Maybe we can do a whole episode on that. I think to what we've just discussed today, the dating scene is almost like what we're experiencing every day, well, where everything's so transactional and no one's ready to invest in. So I'm meeting people and you don't just meet someone on a date and know everything about them. Like you've got to invest time and you've got to look beyond a few of the flags to be like, okay, I'll let that red flag slide to maybe see if there's actually some investment required with this person. But I'm finding that because everything's so transactional, everything's so quick swipe, you can be on to the next. Dating is challenging to get deep with people because there's surface level conversations going on with everyone I'm meeting. And I'm finding it difficult because I'm quite deep and quite curious to get into understanding people. It's like, you've got to be really fast. And I think I'm navigating that one and I'm having fun navigating it.
But also, you're not shallow. I think I might be shallow actually now. But like, all I look at now on the dating apps, right, is how that person looks physically. And I look at the people that I've really loved in my life and I think, would I have swiped right for them? Maybe not, because we miss the expressions, we miss the sexy voices, we miss the like
I hate the
charm
apps, Suze.
and the
I've
good
actually
chat.
deleted all the apps. I'm not on the apps anymore. And everyone I met in Bali, I met organically. Honestly, I started on the apps and I never actually pursued anything on the apps. Actually, one of the guy on the apps I bumped into at the gym and then we started talking because I didn't respond to him on the apps because I just forgot about the apps because I hate the apps.
Snog.
Hmm?
Did you snog?
It's not. No, we didn't.
She's like, did she?
I don't know how you feel, Suze, but I feel like when I'm on the apps, it feels like work. It feels like we're recruiting.
It
Do you feel like
does.
that?
It does. I find it tiring. I'm very bad at ghosting people. I also don't really know that I don't really know. I mean, the fantasy side of me is like, yeah, meet someone, I get married and have more kids. But the real side of me, I don't even know if I want that.
That's so true. Do you know what I did do in Bali though? I think I've played more roles in bringing people together than myself with others because one of my really good friends, I match made with one of my other friends, and also another friend, I match made with another friend. So I'm implementing recruitment outside of work, professional world, and integrating it into matchmaking and doing really well at it. Probably better than recruitment at the moment.
Oh my word. Did you hear that? If you're listening to this and you're looking for a date, Tiarna is offering dating
Forming.
services. I love it.
I'm going to open up a dating service. It's going to be bigger and better than any other dating service and match people to
I'll
personalities.
join. Yeah, I think you'd be great. I think this is definitely a talking topic
Calling.
to buy in a couple of weeks where we will be hopefully recording another episode. Before we do end this episode, have you got any final things that you want to say to anyone or any kind of closing remarks?
Oh, I just want to say it's so nice to have you back and to be talking with you again, Suze, because we had a break and I did an episode with Lucas in Bali, which
We're brilliant, by the way. Both of you are brilliant.
so fantastic, but so not the same as having you there. And I'm excited for the face-to-face studio recording that we're going to do in Dubai because that's going to be special because it's always special when we're in person. And we've got some exciting topics that we're going to talk about. So I'm looking forward to that.
It will be hot. It will be really hot. In fact, how hot is it there?
Hot. It's like a sauna outside. Yeah. I'm sweating in my apartment. So yeah, it's hot. That's what
40 degrees.
Yeah, I think it's about late 40s.
Man, well,
Hot.
I'll pack
It's
up.
okay. It's better that than cold.
It'll be fun. Awesome. Well, thank you for tuning in, and we'll be back in a couple of weeks.
Looking forward to seeing you, Suze.